Most traders don't fail because they can't trade. They fail because they quit 1 inch before their breakthrough. It's not the strategy that destroys them. It's the exhaustion. The quiet frustration. The feeling that maybe, no matter how hard they try, it'll never work. But here's the truth the market never tells you. You don't lose when your account hits zero. You lose when your belief does. Because success doesn't come right after your best day. It comes right after your worst. Part 1, The Breaking Point. Section 1. When most traders give up. There comes a moment in every trader's life when silence feels louder than success. When the charts no longer make sense. When every win disappears, and every loss feels personal. It's that moment when most traders quit. They don't quit because they are weak. They quit because they can't see how close they are. One more week of patience. One more month of refinement. One more journal entry, one more backtest. But pain whispers louder than progress. And so, they walk away. Right before the breakthrough. This is the part no one shows you on YouTube. The long nights. The empty charts. The confusion that comes after every setup fails. The silence after another stop loss gets hit. It's not just a technical struggle, it's psychological warfare. Your mind tells you, you've wasted enough time. Your heart says, you can't stop now. And somewhere between those two voices lies your destiny. Because the truth is this. Success in trading doesn't come after skill. It comes after survival. After you've faced the part of yourself that doubts, fears, and breaks. That's the part that decides who stays and who leaves. Section 2, The Emotional Storm. When you first started trading, you were full of excitement. You believed that if you studied enough, you'd win. That if you learned every pattern and mastered every indicator, you'd finally be free. But the market had other plans. It broke your ego. It tested your faith. It shattered everything you thought you knew about control. You watched your balance rise and fall over and over. You questioned your system, your method, even yourself. And slowly, you began to wonder if maybe this dream wasn't meant for you. That's the exact moment the market is watching. Because most traders quit not when they fail, but when they lose belief. They don't realize that every struggle, every loss, every sleepless night is part of the transformation. Section 3, The Hidden Lesson. Here's the first real truth every trader learns too late. The market doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards endurance. The ones who last long enough start to see patterns others can't. Because they've experienced the pain, not just studied it. They've been through the emotional storms and still showed up the next day. And that's what separates the consistent trader from the emotional one. Not skill. Not luck. Not indicators. But resilience. If you've blown accounts, if you've cried over losses, if you've felt broken, you're not losing. You're transforming. Every time you fall, you sharpen your perspective. Every setback becomes a quiet teacher. So if you're standing at that breaking point right now, the edge where you're ready to give up, remember this. Every trader who made it was once standing right where you are. The only difference is that they didn't quit there. Section 4, We transition, the next step. This is where the story deepens. Because behind every I quit moment, there's a hidden cycle, a psychological trap that keeps traders repeating the same pain over and over again. Part 2, The Cycle of Quitting. Section 1, The Emotional Loop. It starts the same way for everyone. You take a loss. Then another. Then another. And suddenly, it's not about money anymore, it's about identity. You start questioning yourself. Maybe I'm not made for this. Maybe I'll never get it. Maybe those people on social media were right, maybe trading is just luck. That voice becomes louder each day you don't win. You begin to avoid opening the charts. You scroll through Telegram or YouTube looking for a new strategy, a new indicator, a new fix. But deep down, you know the problem isn't on the screen. It's in your mind. This is the first stage of the cycle, the doubt phase. It's where confidence fades and self-trust breaks. And the longer you stay in this phase, the more your actions are controlled by fear instead of logic. Section 2, the escape phase. When the pain becomes too heavy, traders look for escape. Some try new systems every week. Some take long breaks. Some even convince themselves that they'll come back after things calm down. But they rarely do. The truth is, quitting feels peaceful at first. You convince yourself it's the right decision. You say things like, I need to protect my mental health, or maybe trading isn't my path. But deep down, there's an ache, because a part of you still wants it. That's not weakness. That's unfinished purpose. This is the second stage, the false relief. You stop trading, but you don't stop thinking about trading. You still check the charts. You still imagine how you would have caught that move. You're still emotionally tied to the dream. The market has a way of calling you back, not with greed, but with truth. Because deep inside, you know quitting didn't end the pain, it just paused your progress. Section 3, the return and repeat. After weeks or months, you return. You open MetaTrader or TradingView again. You start strong, focused, motivated, confident. But soon, you fall into the same habits. Risking too much. Skipping journaling. Chasing missed entries. Expecting fast results. Then, another loss. Another emotional reaction. And you're right back where you started. That's the cycle of quitting, a loop of effort, failure, escape, and return. And the reason most traders stay trapped in it isn't lack of knowledge, it's lack of self-awareness. You can't fix what you don't recognize. Until you see your own patterns clearly, the market will keep reflecting them back to you. Section 4, the mirror effect. The market is a mirror. It doesn't show you the price, it shows you yourself. Your fear of missing out. Your greed for quick profit. Your impatience. Your ego. That's why quitting never solves the problem. Because when you come back, you bring the same mindset with you. Same emotions. Same habits. Same reaction to loss. Until you fix what's inside, the cycle continues. And that's why most traders never reach the other side. They think the market needs to change, but it's them who needs to evolve. Section 5, breaking the cycle. The way out isn't through a better strategy. It's through emotional awareness. Start by studying yourself more than the charts. Notice when you trade from fear. Notice when you revenge trade. Notice when you feel the urge to close early or move your stop loss. Then write it down. Not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. Because the moment you become aware of your patterns, they lose control over you. Breaking the cycle means accepting pain as part of the process. It means trading even when you don't feel confident. It means trusting your plan more than your emotions. That's the stage most traders never reach, but those who do, they stop being traders. They become masters of their own mind. Section 6, Transition, the next truth. You now understand the cycle. But there's one more layer, the deepest one. The stage after pain, after exhaustion, after acceptance. Part 3, the breakthrough zone. Section 1, the shift after pain. Every trader who survives the storm reaches a strange point. You stop chasing trades. You stop counting profits. You stop trying to control the market. At first, it feels like you've given up. But then something quiet happens. You begin to feel peace. You start accepting losses as information, not punishment. You realize that you don't need to catch every move, only the right ones. You understand that the market isn't your enemy, it's your teacher. This is the beginning of the breakthrough zone. It's not about winning more trades. It's about thinking differently. Because once your emotions stop controlling your decisions, your clarity sharpens. You see the same chart, but this time, you see truth, not temptation. Section 2. The emotional silence. You know you're close to mastery when silence stops feeling empty. You can stare at the charts for hours without forcing a trade. You wait, not out of fear, but out of confidence. There's no rush, no pressure, no panic. You understand that money doesn't come from trading more, it comes from trading better. In this stage, your mindset flips. You no longer feel excitement when you win or depression when you lose. Your emotions flatten, not because you don't care, but because you've learned control. You become steady. And that's when the real growth begins. Section 3. The moment of alignment. Every trader has a moment, a single trade, that changes everything. Not because it was big, but because of how it felt. You followed your plan perfectly. You managed risk perfectly. You didn't flinch, didn't move your stop, didn't chase. And when it played out exactly as planned, something clicked inside you. You realized that you don't need to predict the market. You just need to align with it. You don't need to force wins. You just need to let probability and discipline do the work. That realization marks the start of your transformation. You've officially stepped into the rare zone, the mental state where consistency is born. Section 4. The power of detachment. In this zone, your power comes from detachment. You stop trading for excitement. You trade for execution. You detach from the result, because you've learned that the outcome doesn't define you, your discipline does. You detach from the money, because you've learned that capital is just fuel, not validation. You detach from fear, because you've accepted that losing is part of winning. Detachment doesn't make you cold, it makes you calm. And calm traders win where emotional traders panic. You start to see that every trade, win or lose, adds to your data, your experience, your strength. You're no longer trying to escape the market's chaos, you move with it. Flow replaces force. Confidence replaces control. Section 5. The invisible reward. The funny thing is, once you reach this state, the profits start to grow. Not because your strategy suddenly became better, but because you did. You stopped interfering. You stopped overtrading. You stopped reacting. You finally allowed your system to do what it was designed to do, work over time. And that's when success stops being random. It becomes predictable, repeatable, earned. The invisible reward isn't the money, it's the peace. You're no longer addicted to results. You're anchored by discipline. Section 6. Transition, the mastery mindset. Most traders never reach this point because they never make it through the pain. They leave too early, right before this clarity arrives. But the few who stay? They become unshakable. Part 4. The mind of a consistent trader. Section 1. The quiet confidence. When consistency finally arrives, it doesn't make noise. It doesn't announce itself. It just appears, quietly, calmly, like a sunrise after a long night. You notice that you don't need to prove anything anymore. You don't need to tell people about your wins. You don't need to chase the market to feel alive. Because your confidence no longer comes from results. It comes from control. You trust your plan. You trust your discipline. You trust yourself. This is the mind of a consistent trader, not emotional, not reactive, not desperate. Just steady. Present. Focused. Section 2. Trading as identity. For most traders, trading is something they do. For the consistent trader, trading is something they are. It's not a hobby. It's not even just a profession. It's a reflection of mindset. The charts become a mirror of your discipline. Your results reflect your patience. Your growth reflects your self-control. Every trade becomes a test of character. And every time you follow your plan, you build integrity. That's why consistency isn't built on big wins, it's built on small obediences. Small moments when you do the right thing, even when no one is watching. Even when it hurts. Section 3. The emotional mastery. In this stage, emotions don't disappear, they just lose control over you. Fear still shows up, but you don't listen. Greed still whispers, but you don't move. You've trained your mind to observe, not obey. To feel, but not react. You understand now that your greatest edge isn't your entry, your strategy, or your risk-reward. It's your state of mind. That's what separates the professionals from the hopefuls. Control over emotion, not control over price. Section 4. The spiritual balance. Something else changes, too. You start to see how patience, gratitude, and faith are not just good traits, they're powerful trading tools. Because every chart, every loss, every delay is a test of tawakkul, trust in Allah's plan, not your prediction. When you stop forcing outcomes, you start aligning with wisdom. And when you truly believe that your risk is written, the noise fades. The market becomes calmer. Not because it changed, but because you did. Section 5. Legacy over profit. At this level, profit becomes the byproduct, not the goal. You start thinking long-term. You think about sustainability. You think about mastery. You start journaling not to track numbers, but to track growth. You stop chasing reward. You start chasing refinement. That's what makes the consistent trader unstoppable. They don't depend on motivation. They depend on discipline. They know that as long as they execute, results will follow. Section 6. The closing truth. Every trader's story begins with excitement and ends with endurance. The journey breaks you before it builds you. It humbles you before it rewards you. But if you stay long enough, you realize the real victory was never in the market. It was always inside you. Because trading isn't about predicting price. It's about mastering patience, emotions, and self-belief. And once you do that, consistency isn't something you chase. It's something you become. So remember this. Most traders quit right before success. Not because they can't trade, but because they stop believing when progress becomes invisible. If you're in that season, hold on. Pain is not the signal to stop. It's the signal that you're close. Stay disciplined. Stay faithful. Stay in the game. And when you finally make it, look back, and you'll see that every loss was a lesson, and every delay was preparation. If this message spoke to you, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this video. There's more to come, more lessons, more truth, more psychology for traders who refuse to quit. Because your journey isn't over yet. It's just beginning.